Yeah, my name is Aniekan.
Yeah, I'm Comrade Peter Akpatason.
I'm serving in the Akwa Ibom State Executive Council, Government of Akwa Ibom State, as a Commissioner for Information and Communication.
I represent the good people of Akoko Edo Federal Constituency.
Charts and ads with Elizabeth Era. Commissioner, sir, is the Ibaka deep sea port still on schedule to be executed?
I would like to assure Mr. Akpan that the Ibom Deep Sea Port initiative is very much on course. But I can assure him there's no problem with that initiative.
Can you tell us your role in the House of Representatives? How does it affect you and I, then everybody in Akoko Edo?
Well, the role of a legislator basically is lawmaking. It requires contribution to bills on the floor of the House. It also includes reviewing existing laws, particularly when they are becoming obsolete and no longer fit for purpose.
We have a responsibility to continue to preach peace, unity and love amongst the people of Akwa Ibom State, and that's encapsulated in the Dakada philosophy, rising to greatness. Of course, they should rise as a people and know that we can move beyond ethnicity, biases, religion and gender.
The era of waiting for manna to fall from heaven is long past. We must be up and doing. We must be hard-working. We must be serious with our education, and we must be self-supporting at some level.
Remember, this is Elizabeth Era, and this is Charts and Ads, and of course it's the early. You're welcome to another beautiful chit chat on Charts and Ads with Elizabeth Era, with a very, very wonderful guest here with us today. I'm not going to mention his name this time. He will be the one to tell us who he is. You all know this is the elite, so today we're having someone very wonderful. Can I say he's a nice person? Yes, he didn't really give me stress when I called him as usual. But ladies, I always tell you, these are married men, but they are fine. What can we do? I realize that all the politicians in Nigeria, well, the few I've met, they are only very good looking, and sometimes I wish, oh God, I wish this one is not married. Hey, I didn't say it to wife, please. So today we're going to be having a honorable, like I said, I'm not going to mention his name. He will do that himself. So, sir, may we meet you?
Yeah, I'm Comrade Peter Akpatason. I represent the good people of Akoko Edo Federal Constituency.
Good people. Okay, today we are having Honorable Peter Akpatason here on the Elite, and of course, Charts and Ads. Today we're going to be asking him a whole lot of questions that you sent in. Of course, part of our own questions, but we have some questions for him here, and we know he's a nice person, so you'll be able to give us answers the way they are supposed to come. And there was actually something he said which I love. I'm not going to say it now, I'm going to say it later, right on the show. So, sir, your very first question is actually from us. We want to know, because most people don't really know who you are. They might see you on TV, on social media and all that, but we want to know who you are. Who is Honorable Hon Peter Akpatason?
Well, as I said, I'm Peter Akpatason. I am from Unemenekwa in Akoko Edo local government area. I had my primary education at Elafe Primary School, and thereafter Akograms, the only school that carries the whole of the local government name, Akoko Edo Grammar School. And before proceeding, to Warri City College of Education, Warri, where I read economics and government, and thereafter Delta State University, Abraka. And then I had a stint with the Nigerian police, as a spy police. And then I also had some short period in the classroom as economics teacher, government teacher at some point. But in 1990, I finally joined Shell after a sojourn in Nigeria police and teaching class, as a classroom. And I was in Shell for 20 years, from 1990 to 2010. And within this period, as somebody who is so concerned about people's welfare, social justice, and a protection of human rights. Yeah. I found myself joining the union, and I rose to the level of the president of NUPENG, the oil workers in the industry. Yeah. Well, in 1998, I became the national trustee of NUPENG. In 2001, I became the president. And in 2005, I got my second term. And that same period, I became the national trustee of the Nigeria Labour Congress in charge of asset and investment. Okay. But in 2010, I decided to quit the oil and gas industry. By applying for voluntary severance from SPDC, and then back home, I was to actually go full-time into my own business and to run my NGO, which is advocacy for oil and national development, because what is happening presently is that oil is a cost to this country. Oil has actually brought more pains than good. And I believe that, we must sensitize and educate, the ruling class on how to make oil a source of benefit and joy to Nigerian people than having it as a source of crisis in the Niger Delta region, a source of pollution, and environmental degradation and all whatnot, in terms of economic diversification and so on. So that was what I wanted to continue to do full-time. But then my people beckoned on me to join politics. After a little hesitation, they were able to convince me. And in 2011, I eventually contested and won as a member representing Akoko-Edo Federal Constituency. Though I was actually going for Senate, a few days to the primaries, the party and the leadership, thought it wise to ask me to, rather look at House of Representatives instead of Senate. And so I've been here for the 6th year running.
Whoa, that's beautiful. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
You actually heard him. I don't know, he's a great person. He said a whole lot. There's something I noticed, there's something I picked out from all he said. Dedication, consistency, focus. I picked a whole lot of that. Now, we have that issue with young youths in Nigeria today. We find it very difficult to, I believe that if he wasn't honest, if he wasn't dedicated, if he had not been doing what he was supposed to do, like playing by the rules, probably he won't have gotten to the level which he is today. But we have a whole lot of questions, so I'm not here to preach, I'm sorry. Let's just go back to our discussion, because we have a whole lot of questions for you. There's a particular question from someone on BBM. He said, can you tell us your role in the House of Representatives as your constituency's representative as Akoko-Edo in Edo North? A lot of people don't know the role of each constituency's representative. So this particular individual wants to know your responsibility, your role in the House. How does it affect you and I, them, everybody in Akoko-Edo constituency?
Well, the role of a legislator basically is lawmaking. True. Lawmaking, which it requires a lot of research into what should be a good a piece of legislation. Yeah. And it requires contribution to bills on the floor of the House. It requires drafting bills to cover areas where there are no adequate legislation. Okay. It also includes reviewing existing laws, particularly when they are becoming obsolete and no longer fit for purpose. Okay. There are cases, for instance, where laws that were inherited from the British colonial master are still in effect today. So such require review. So that is basically the function of a lawmaker, to make laws and do appropriation. Appropriation is the process of turning a money bill into an act of the parliament. Okay. Yeah, which often people call budget. Okay. you know. So we appropriate funds for the executive arm of government to execute projects that they define and present through budget estimates to us. And in addition to that, we do oversight function. This is the aspect of check and balance. You know, the presidential system, is one that operates on the basis of separation of powers. Yeah. But however, there is element of checks and balance in the process of that separation. It is not a complete watertight separation without any checks and balance. Now, what I mean by that is that when we appropriate funds to MDAs of the government, we go out there to see how they utilize these funds for projects that they have stated in the budget in such a way as to ensure that the dividends of democracy gets to the target population. So that is the oversight.
Okay, since you are representing the Akoko Edo people, yours is to make
no,
sure
oversight at this level is a general thing. You might not have to go to your place. You oversight ministries, departments, and agencies of government anywhere in the country. Yeah, the aspect of the constituency is the one I'm coming to. That one is not called oversight. That is called representation. Representation. For instance, Akoko Edo people, when they have issues, I move motion on the floor of the House to highlight those issues and bring them to government attention and seek resolution. Like when there was overflow of water in Ojirami Dam, when there was rainstorm in some parts of Akoko Edo, I moved motion, I got NEMA to bring in relief materials, and then eventually, contracts were put in place to fix one or two things. You understand me? When the roads are bad, you draw attention of government to it. If the resources are available, they get attention. But in some cases, they prioritize until it gets to your turn. If there's a case of human rights abuse in any part of my constituency, I take it up with the government. I move a motion on the floor of the House, or I get a petition from the person or people involved. I present it on the floor of the House. I seek and get the support of my my colleagues in the House to approve the motion and the prayers in that motion, and then the Parliament follows up, on that. So those are basically the role of legislators. But there's something that is unique to the Nigerian, experiment. There is this thing we call constituency projects in Nigeria. In most parliaments, all over the world, lawmakers don't do constituency projects. I think it was in the days of President Olusegun Obasanjo that was introduced, in an attempt to make the legislators able to reach out to their people. Because actually, if you look at it, most of the major capital projects from the Federation hardly get to some rural constituency. But by the time the zonal intervention concept was introduced, funds were now allocated on paper to legislators, who now assign also on paper such amounts of money to projects in MDAs, ministries or departments or agencies of government. No money is given to anybody, because constituency project does not involve giving money to any legislator. But an amount is named for a whole zone, like South-South. South-South gets X amount of money, divided by 6 states in South-South. Then each state owned is divided by the number of rep members from that state. Like in Edo, we are 9. Whatever gets to Edo as part of the Zonal Intervention Fund, having divided it by the number of the South-South one, by the number of states in South-South, the Edo one is divided by 9, and each member gets 1. Senator gets theirs likewise. But that is what happens in the House of Reps. So it's the figure you get. It's the figure you get. Then you now say, okay, if I have 50 million, I want to use 20 million for water project. I want to use another 20 million for empowerment project, which involves training people and equipping them with the equipment to start working. And then you can use the other one for electricity, or solar light or stuff like that. You then identify which ministry will do it. For instance, if it is a borehole you want to do, you go to Ministry of Water Resources. Okay. You can use their agency like we do use the Benue River Basin Development Authority. So you put the money in the budget. Then the Ministry of Finance will send the money on approval to those ministries. They will then award contract to the contractors that they pre-qualified on their own. I have recommended contractors that were never given a consideration because they have their own internal rules. Sure. And that applies to everybody. So in most cases, we don't even know who does the job. But after awarding the contract, they give them the phone number of our contact person in the constituency, who they now move to, and then that one will show them where we have agreed that such contract or that project should be located. Okay. So that is constituency, the process and procedure for implementing constituency projects.
Thank you very much. Well, I actually learned a lot. Trust me, to an extent, I didn't know all this, but I hope you guys actually learned too. Thank you very much, sir, for this detailed explanation. I'm really very grateful.
You're welcome.
Also, I'm going to be mentioning the names of everyone. I'm sorry I
Please
didn't
do.
put them here, but
No
I actually wanted to protect some persons because of some questions that actually came in. The next question is on appropriation of bills. I don't know if that is your jurisdiction, but it came in from a guy in Akwa Ibom State. He's called Came Fon. He's not an Akoko Edo person, neither is he from Edo State, but because he heard the House of Reps, so he actually brought in this question. He said, what appropriation bills have or will be passed to ensure that the expenditure of government and its agencies are checkmated?
Talk about appropriation bill, that is not a concept. I don't, I think it's mixing up, two different things. Appropriation is a process of allocating money. You understand me? Then the bill, a bill could cover anything. But when a bill is a money bill, and the process of passing it is a little different. So when it is passed into law, after allocating the funds, that process is the appropriation, the process of allocating funds. That's appropriation. But the bill itself, when passed into law, is called Appropriation Act. Okay. Appropriation Act. But the question here, I think his own question is, what can you do to checkmate the use of such funds that have been so appropriated? Exactly. Yes, we use oversight. It is not a bill you use to checkmate it. There are already laws guiding how appropriated funds should be utilized. You have the Public Procurement Act. You understand me? Yes. Yeah? And then we have also other, anti-graft, laws in this country, that defines the procedures and ways of, utilizing funds that are in the budget. Now, so what we do during oversight is to check whether what they did is in consonance with the extant laws governing the award of contracts, the payment of monies, the pre-qualification processes, and all whatnot. So there are a lot of laws that are already existing. They are subject to review, and when we find it necessary to review, we will review them. But what is key is for us to ensure implementation and compliance with extant laws.
Okay. I hope you've heard that. He was able to actually educate us more and also gave you an answer. The next question came in from Ortins. Ortins is from Akoko Edo. I've forgotten the name of that village in Akoko Edo, but I know it's from Akoko Edo in Edo North. He said, can you tell us your achievements as a house member in the previous administration? Because this is your second term.
I don't expect a Akoko Edo person to come on social media to ask such questions. Yes, he did. I did several briefings. I produced reports that where my achievements are clearly encapsulated.
Go ahead. Let me
get his village. So you understand me? So in my constituency office, I have 2 constituency offices, one at Igara, one in Ibilo. So those reports are there for anybody to see. I have provided a lot of projects, more than 40 projects in all. I provided employment for a very large number of people in different departments. I have trained an unprecedented number of Akoko Edo people and equipped them with starter kits to start their businesses as my own way of contributing to employment creation and also solving the problem of unemployment. I have provided electricity for communities that did not have electricity. I have done free medical services that produce wonderful results, including operating on the two eyes of somebody who was blind for over 4 years and cannot, you understand, I'm sure you know that, and that lady can see now. She has regained her full sight, and a whole lot of people benefited from that. For quite some time, I opened that window for people to go to those clinics to go and take treatment, even when I'm not there. Merely calling me on phone, I talk to the hospital, they go there. But just now, I don't have the resources to do that. I've suspended that. I have Akpatason Educational Foundation that is also providing educational support to a lot of people. Just now, I am working on a new entrepreneurship, training program. We've done a lot of vocational. Now we're going to entrepreneurship training program. We have asked people to come up with proposals, and we look at how those proposals can be supported. There are two ways that we can do that, or that we are doing that. We can get them to get a facility from the development banks, across the country, Agribank, BOI, NEFOND, and the rest of them. The other way is to provide them with the resources where, I have such resources to sponsor such projects. I've also built a lot of ICT facilities in so many places. Yeah, because I believe that.
I think December last year, if I'm not mistaken, sorry, the upper year.
Year before last.
The year before last. Yeah.
I built an ICT in N1 Grammar School, for instance. There's also one in Unemenekwa. There's one in Ibilo, and there's also sourced through NCC some computers for distribution, among secondary schools in the place. So, if we have to count, continue to name them, we'll continue for quite some time. But I think that people should go to the offices, pick up those documents, and read them and see what I have done.
Okay. So this question came in from one Blessed Okoine or Okoine. I can't pronounce his name properly. Pardon me. I'm sorry. Yeah. He said, "Wow, Akpatason, Edo North." I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it the way he said it. Wow, Akpatason, Edo North House of Rep member. I was the one who served as INEC official when he won his election in Edo North in 2011. After his victory, he could not really do much for me. Till date, he only gave me 2K. That's 2,000 naira. You can imagine if you can ask him what he has done to empower the youth since his assumption in his office as a House of Rep member. Also inform him what I just said now.
But however, if I gave him 2K, that means I have tried. What are we talking about? I have millions of people to give money to. But I think that giving money shouldn't be the thing, exactly. Blessing or blessed. Tell Blessed to get in touch with me. If he has specific issues, we can address those. But in terms of youth empowerment, I think I have performed more than any representative, in Akoko Edo, ever. I've done more than anybody can challenge me on this. Okay. And like I mentioned this earlier on, how I have equipped, I train and equip people. It has never happened before. Yeah, I know in the time past, some people get ND to train people, but I've not seen a situation where people train and then you give them, let me tell you, when I train people on fashion design, for instance, I get them a single sewing or straight sewing machine. I get them the weaving, the zigzag one. I get them generator. I get them table. They get iron. They get scissors and the rest of them. They get everything that is required to set up that business. That's what I do. The same thing, the same thing happens for those who are in carpentry, mechanics, weaving and all whatnot. We have done that for, more than 150 people. And we are starting another 100 now. Now, we're about doing that. I have forms over there. I can show you forms. There are passports there. There are phone numbers. There are guarantors' name and their phone numbers to tell you that this is not fake. This is real. And I'm not just training. And I've also provided employment for a very reasonable number of people by way of, networking with friends and well-wishers. Because some people think that as a rep member, if you write a recommendation to any ministry, it's automatic. No, it's not so. You have to go and beg. You have to go and convince people. You have to go and wait, and ensure that at least you're able to get something for your people. Yeah. And we do that a lot. I've put people in so many ministries. In the first dispensation, and even now, I've started putting people, and I think they are very happy. So I will continue to do my best. It's never, over until it is over, because I know unemployment is a very major, issue. I'm so concerned about it. But for blessed, issue of pepper, take it easy. Let's see one-on-one. You understand me?
This guy is not, he's from Edo State, but he bears a Yoruba name, and that's very confusing for me. His name is Bola. I said, please, tell Honorable that I need a job, and I need it so badly.
Help me tell him that I will do anything possible to help people get job, but I will never write application for anybody.
True.
So he has to be vigilant. Okay. He has to go about job search.
Okay.
Anytime he writes application, let him get me his details so that I can do a recommendation and follow up where I am able. I'll do a follow-up where I am able. Because where you don't know anybody really, it's difficult to do a follow-up. But sometimes if I have the time, I seek to know people in such places. And in the process, I've got result. And I can still do it. But I don't write application for people. It is the first onus is upon him to write an application. So it is not me that will do that for anybody. But sincerely, I will do anything that is legitimate to help people get jobs.
So now you've heard that, Bola. I actually want to really emphasize on this particular area. Youth of these days, I don't know what our problems are. We come out of school, we are graduates. Some of us can't even spell our names. We can't write it down on paper. It's absurd, I don't know. So you don't expect nobody to write applications for you. A lot of you complain about politicians not wanting to help, people in power not wanting to assist you and all that. And by the time you are even called for an interview, you mess the thing up. You embarrass the person that sent you there. It's not good enough. So all I'm going to say here is, he has already said he's willing to assist us. Hey, come on. So when you are doing your application, please also go and prepare and read very well for your aptitude test. Don't come back tomorrow and say the person is wicked when the person actually put in his everything, and at the end of the day, you went there to embarrass him. Thank you very much. So sir, we're going to the next question. This one is actually coming from me. While you were talking, you said something about the oil issue in Nigeria, the crude oil issue in Nigeria, which to me, it's an issue to me, okay? It's an issue because a lot of us, we really deviated. We now focus so much on oil. There was a day I was traveling from Benin to Akwa Ibom, and they were arguing at the behind me in the bus, and the man keeps shouting, our oil, my oil, my oil. So I got so pissed, and I told her, like, which your oil? As in, you get oil. He said, no, it's my father's land now, our oil. They just collect the money and they eat it. My own is, I want to really know if you people have plans, because you've been in that you were in that sector for a very long time. Yes, we know people are trying to deviate into agriculture right now. There are a lot of things that a lot of us are trying to do to see how we're able to deviate. Do you have any idea, any plan at all that can really help us? Because there are countries that don't have oil. They are actually surviving and doing well. That's why I love the Koreans, and I will say, check the Koreans, for instance, the South Koreans, for instance. They are doing well. We need to know. Do you have any idea, any beautiful idea that you feel, anything you think that can actually help us, as in grow more in Nigeria, develop, get better, other than the oil?
I pray that I don't have reason to learn things the hard way. But the hard way is one way to learn.
True.
For those who are not reasonable.
True.
Nigeria is a typical example. We are failed to learn the easy way, which is planning and working out your plan. That's the easy way to learn things, and to get things done, really. Now we are learning the hard way because we failed to plan. We failed to generate ideas when we were supposed to. We were comfortable just getting free money from oil, free in quotes now, getting free money from oil and misappropriating the money, spending the money in a non-frugal manner, choosing our priorities wrongly, and in the process promoting corruption, living in corruption, and then also undermining other critical sectors of the economy, moving away from agriculture, from manufacturing, and other lucrative sectors of the economy, and focusing all and all in oil and gas development. And today, what is happening? Oil prices have crashed. In my place, there's a saying that breeze don't blow, fowl yansh don't open. The secret of Nigeria has been exposed. Our economy has become porous, and the naira is crashing. And now suddenly we are learning the hard way to diversify. What we need to do in this country is to simply diversify. What we need to do is to move away from ostentatious living, to a more realistic way of life, such that instead of looking for SUVs that cannot be locally produced, instead of the journalists interviewing me to wear all foreign things, we should learn how to wear Nigerian-made products.
Oh, I'm going to look for it.
You understand me? So by the time we do that, we will no longer be spending all our dollars importing, whereas we can buy made-in-Aba things and put them on. Also, we must learn how to promote local industry.
So you have the opinion.
And I equally believe that one very critical area is education. Because production cannot be done by robots alone, but by men and women, by the creativity of these people. Those equipments are not creative. It is the human being that is creative. Those robots are garbage in, garbage out. It is men that put every, a program in those robots that are used in factories. So, this key competencies level of the people is a very, very key and important element. Now, in a dysfunctional educational system like the one we have in Nigeria, where the curriculum focuses on the development of only the cognitive aspect of learning of the people, which is more about theories and the postulations and the rest of them. That kind of educational system cannot move this country from where we are to where we ought to be. Vocational training, vocational education, technical education, the kind of education that produces skills that can engage the people to be self-employed in such a way that when people come out of the university system, the polytechnic or monotechnic system, they go about producing goods and services without necessarily, seeking white-collar jobs.
True. You're right.
Until a majority of Nigerians are so skillful to do this, it will be difficult for us. Now, having even produced that, we also need to begin to look at how to support local initiatives, small, medium, enterprises.
Okay.
Government must, of necessity, design facilities for supporting business initiatives at that level. Micro, small, and medium enterprises. Small, fashion designers. It is not everybody that will be fortunate to get a honorable member that will buy equipment for him or her.
Sure.
But there are some people that have the creativity to work, but they don't have anything. And you say before they can get loan, they should go and form cooperative. They form cooperative, you want collateral. Which collateral? You have an honorable member that's ready to guarantee such small loans for those people. Why don't you allow that be? You understand me? Let's simplify the process for accessing funds. When people don't have access to funds, then they cannot effectuate their plans and initiatives. They die with such initiatives. You understand me? So government must come up with such programs. We have a lot of banks that are, that have, chunks of money. And at the end of the day, they say the people are not coming. The people are coming, but they can't access because the conditionalities are stringent and unattainable. We must move away from that. The government must learn how to incentivize local initiative and also the production for purpose of exportation, so that we can become net exporters as against net importers. We must also go back to long-term planning processes. We got it wrong a long time ago when we moved away from the rolling plans to ad hoc, annually or 6-monthly plans. You see, when one government comes in at state level, for instance, he abandons what the predecessor did or was doing, even when they are from the same party. That must stop. Sure. That must stop. And so the long and short of the whole thing is that we must get more creative, we must get more ingenious, we must get more, practical, and we must also get, a more realistic in our consumption pattern and the kind of things that we demand, so that altogether our people will be more capable of doing things with their hands, psychomotive, skills, than preaching the theory of philosophers that died hundreds of years ago, who lived in an era that is far different from what is obtainable today. We must move away from that, and we must continue to believe in ourselves and believe that the solution lies in our local initiative, and these solutions must be locally generated. We cannot import the solution that addresses the problem of America. It cannot address our problem. Exactly. The one that addresses the problem of India will not address our problem. Exactly. But we are different people. But finally, we must join President Muhammadu Buhari to fight corruption. Exactly. Because corruption is actually the octopus of them all. Exactly. That can consume everyone. Because with corruption, funds that are made for capital projects disappear. With corruption, budgets are padded. And at the end of the day, this money is passed through the window. With corruption, we say that there's unemployment, and yet to discover that ghost workers are more than the total number of workers that are actually working for government, and yet monies are paid and all that. So we must have to fight corruption to a standstill.
Okay. This one is from Esohe. What plans do you have on ground for the people of Akoko Edo in this present administration?
Yeah, so I actually have commissioned a study to look at some critical issues in the constituency, which I will work on during this 4-year period. But in the meantime, my major focus, just now, is to ensure the completion of existing projects, that are uncompleted projects, and provide some new ones, based on the quantum of resources available in the zonal intervention scheme. But all of these are geared towards providing welfare, for the people. Okay. I believe that to turn around the economy of my constituency, we must have a tertiary institution. So I'm focusing seriously on delivering a School of Mine and Geological Studies to Akoko Edo people. In this respect, the bill has been represented again, because it suffered a setback in the 7th Assembly because we could not, it was actually in the committee level. Because of paucity of fund, the committee could not present the report before the end of that term. But so I'm working flat out to ensure that this time around it is delivered, and we're going to have a tertiary institution in that part of the world. Okay. And I believe that that is capable of turning around the entire economic fortunes of my people. So that basically, that's it. We are working on some road projects, and then, as I said at the beginning, I'm continuing with my training and empowerment scheme, which is a unique one, which I can beat my chest anytime to say that it has not been rivaled anywhere.
It's going to be the last question from me. I want to really ask, because you talked about joining Buhari to fight corruption. Now, a lot of people actually think Buhari is actually not fighting corruption, but he is actually witch hunting. Instead of actually developing Nigeria, doing all what he said he's supposed to do, trying to better our lives. Right now, he said he's fighting corruption, but he's actually witch hunting, according to what they've said. So I want to know, from your own perspective, your own angle, your own opinion, what do you think? Is he really fighting corruption? And how is he actually fighting the corruption? And is this really going to take Nigeria to the level that we actually be praying for another 4 years? Are we going to get there? Because right now in the country, everybody knows that, in short, it's like everywhere is locked up and shut down. Nothing is really happening.
Obviously, that's an overstatement. Things are happening in this country. Those who have eyes are seeing what is happening in the country. But let me tell you, corruption fights back anytime. What is happening in Nigeria today is that corruption is fighting back. They are very powerful people. These corrupt elements in Nigeria, they are very powerful people. They control media. They control funds. They control the ministries and departments and agencies of government. They've been there for many years. And they have also reached out with corrupt money to a lot of people, including some of them in the social media environment. They are benefiting from corruption. You understand? Not all of them, but a lot of them are benefiting from corruption. So because of that, they keep shouting. And then there are a lot of them that are just purely ignorant, and they don't know what is going on. But let me ask you a few questions so that will help to direct, the thought of a lot of people. The military people that he is confronting today, could anybody have confronted them before him? Are they PDP people?
No.
Is he wishing those people? 2.1 billion naira that was meant for fighting Boko Haram, and people misappropriated it and used it for party campaigns. And then Nigerian soldiers died in their numbers. Are they saying that one again is witch hunting? That people should not be called to account for that? Let me tell you, Nigerians are very corrupt. Corruption is not only when you are in government, you have access to money. When you ask politicians to give you money, instead of going to look for what, you are corrupt. If you allow politicians to bribe you and you go on social media and start speaking from both sides of your mouth, you are corrupt.
True, that's very true.
You understand me? So people are so corrupt. These same people who are asking this question, they are very corrupt people. And so they are fighting President Muhammad Buhari because they are benefiting from corruption. Just now, because the corruption is no longer flowing, or corrupt money is no longer flowing, and they are not getting access to it, they are shouting. What is the noise they are making about? What is that noise about? The man is fighting corruption squarely. Do you understand me? But what people don't seem to understand is that, unfortunately, he is in this system at a time that crude prices have gone down drastically. Okay. It has never been this bad. No money in the system. Local government cannot pay. Is it because of Buhari's war against corruption? It's not his fault. If local government cannot pay their workers, how will local people benefit? And why is it that they can't pay? They wait to share money from Abuja and go back to go and pay. They can't generate revenue locally. Is it Buhari that was supposed to teach them how to do it over the years? Have they been doing it? People go to Abuja to share. State governors, they go to Abuja to go and share. When they don't have money to pay, they go cap in hand to beg for a bailout. And you are blaming the president. What nonsense is that? I owe no apology to anybody for this. The man is doing well. The man is fighting corruption. The other side of it is this again. If you think or if you agree with anybody that is witch hunting, why do you say so? If it is because most of the people who are so far, being investigated are PDP people, I ask you this question. President Muhammad Buhari took over from ex-President Goodluck Jonathan, who was the last, and maybe forever the last president of PDP. After 16 years of misrule. Now, within this period, was it APC people that were spending the money? If you want to investigate the last 4 years at federal level, is it APC people you are going to investigate there? Who were the APC people that were in Jonathan's government? You are investigating federal. That's what the president is doing. The few people who were in PDP have now moved into APC, assuming any of them took part in misappropriation, and Mr. President is protecting that person, then you will say he's witch hunting. Then we will shout about it. But as it stands now, that's not the case. His own friend was accused and arrested and detained by EFCC. He quickly went to bring the money out because he didn't want to be messed up. Okay. The president did not intervene in his case. APC did not intervene, but he decided to pay back the money. PDP people have been asked to pay back the money. Did they pay back? Have Have you not had those humongous figures that they are talking about all over the place? Are you not embarrassed that as a Nigerian, people could steal so much, and some people are saying that they should not be prosecuted? Is that not corruption on the part of those who are saying it? What are we talking about?
It is corruption.
River State. Did Nweke, did he not set up a commission of inquiry to probe Amechi? Okay. Did President Buhari stop him?
No.
What have they been able to do with that? Did they go to court? So who's holding them? Is it President Buhari or is it APC?
No.
It is because they are corrupt. What are we talking about? So if you cannot do it at your level and somebody is doing it at his level, you want to dictate to him how to do it. Anybody who steals money should be made to pay for it.
Well, viewers, I hope you actually had a nice time with us today. We're actually coming to the end of this chit chat with Honorable Peter Akpatason, sorry. Oh, please, sir, before we go, we'd like him to just say 1 or 2 words to the youth, the Nigerian youth. We, the Nigerian youth, we want to hear what you have to say to us and what you think of us. Who do you think we are, and what's your final word for we, the Nigerian youth?
Where to start with, there is an aspect. We are coming up with a constitution review any moment from now. I think the youth should wake up right from now and begin to look at some aspect of our constitution that is unfavorable to them. Okay. Yeah, I know people will ask me, why am I the one saying this? Why can't you do it yourself? I know the politics that plays out here, and the youth should have a voice. So when organizations, civil society organizations are there. For instance, there is a law that says, okay, an aspect of the constitution that says that you have to be 30 years before you can contest for House of Rep. Who said you have to be 30 years first before you can do a good job? You have to be 35 before you can contest for Senate. And go to, is it Australia or New Zealand? Their president is less than 40. And yet, in this place, you have to be 35 before you can even go for Senate. I think those are things that must change. Local government autonomy is very, very important, because at that level, if you cannot even go, to federal level, you can do it you start from state or local level. But look at the local government; they are not autonomous. We have been talking about local government autonomy, both financial autonomy and all whatnot. But that's been blocked at state level by the state governors and members of the House of Assembly. Even the autonomy of House of Assembly members, they even rejected it when it was passed in the 6th Assembly. These are things that Nigerian youth must come out and insist on if we want real democracy that can take care of their interests. And also, I want to challenge youth. The people who vote in this country, they are women and youth, and they are the ones that are being, that are being excluded from the sharing when it comes to sharing positions, when it comes to resource allocation and the rest of them, and they are quiet. Nobody will fight your battle for you. We can only join you to fight. We can only encourage you to fight. But sincerely, I don't see anybody, because those who are benefiting from a dysfunctional system will not want to make it work. Because the moment it starts working, then they might not benefit again. So you who is suffering from that dysfunctionality will be the one to start the struggle, and then the good ones among the upper class will join you. Sincerely, this is my advice, and I want to also tell our people that the era of waiting for manna to fall from heaven is long past. We must be up and doing. We must be hard-working. We must be serious with our education, and we must be self-supporting at some levels.
Thank you very much. Well, viewers, this is where we're going to draw the curtain for today. Until next time when I come your way again, remember, this is Elizabeth Era, and this is Chats and Ads, and of course, it's the Elite with Honorable Peter Akpatason. Until next time, we'll come again with another wonderful guest. Please don't go anywhere. Just keep patronizing us. We love you.